Hello, true crime enthusiasts, and welcome back to another thrilling episode of True Crime Stories. Today, we invite you to discover the shocking secrets behind the husband's sinister plot to target his wife's adultery. This is a story you won't want to miss. Andrew and Paula Keene's love story began at Pinewood's Harvest Festival 15 years ago. Andrew, a shy graduate student who runs the physics booth, attracts Paula, who is home from college. They quickly fell in love, enjoying outdoor adventures and cozy evenings dreaming of the future. They married on Pinewood Lake, surrounded by family and friends, and bought a charming home on Maple Street. Initially, their marriage was filled with joy and happiness. However, as Paula's marketing career progressed, so did the late nights and business trips. Andrew, a middle school content teacher, struggled to understand her ambitions. Their conversations become tense, and Andrew feels left behind as Paula's social life develops. Attempts to reconnect were often unsuccessful, and their once close relationship grew increasingly distant. In this fragile state, Paula met David Reeves at a business. Captivated by Pinewood's charisma and passion for revitalizing the brand, Paula's relationship with David sets off a chain of events that could completely change her marriage to Andrew. David's enthusiasm attracted Paula, and the two quickly developed a close friendship filled with long lunches and shared interests in contemporary art and independent film. Paula felt an excitement she hadn't felt in years, and David admired her intelligence and quick passion. One night, after a successful presentation, they celebrated with drinks, leading to an informal meeting. Their first meeting at a nearby bed and breakfast marks the beginning of a secret love affair. For months, Andrew remained unaware, attributing Paula's improved mood to work. However, conflicts such as her sudden interest in obscure bands and silent phone calls made him suspicious. The pivotal moment comes when Andrew sees a message on Paula's open laptop from an unsaved number, revealing intimate exchanges and a photo of David, confirming dire fears you're best. Nauseated and shaky, Andrew closed his laptop and retreated to the basement, his head spinning. When Paula returned home that evening, she found him sitting in the dark, his eyes red and distant. The confrontation that followed was brutal. Paula, initially caught off guard, tried to deny everything, but faced with the evidence Andrew had discovered, she finally broke down and confessed the affair. As Paula sobbed and tried to explain, Andrew listened in stony silence. When she finished speaking, he stood up and walked out of the room without a word, leaving Paula alone with the ruins of their marriage scattered all around her. In the days following his devastating discovery, Andrew Keene surprised everyone with his apparent calm acceptance of the situation. When Paula, racked with guilt, suggested moving out, Andrew insisted she stay. He spoke of forgiveness, of working through their problems together, and of his steadfast love for her, despite her transgressions. Paula, overwhelmed with relief at this unexpected reprieve, threw herself into rebuilding their relationship. She ended things with David with a brief phone call, blocked his phone number and social media accounts, and suggested couples therapy, date nights, and even a second honeymoon to rekindle their relationship. To their friends and colleagues, the Keenes presented a united front. They were seen holding hands at farmers' markets, laughing together at local events, and Andrew even surprised Paula with flowers at her office. Many people in Pinewood commented that the couple seemed stronger than ever, admiring their ability to weather such storms. But underneath this carefully constructed facade, a very different reality is gradually emerging. Andrew's forgiveness is a stunning performance, concealing a heart twisted by betrayal and a mind consumed by thoughts of revenge. Every gentle word and loving gesture was calculated, designed to lull Paula into a false sense of security while he struggled with his growing obsession. Late at night, while Paula slept, Andrew would lie awake, his mind replaying imaginary scenes of his wife in David's arms. He begins writing a diary, filling the pages with dark musings and complex fantasies about confronting his wife's lover. The act of writing down these thoughts became a pressure valve, allowing him to maintain a calm exterior while the turmoil inside grew. As summer turns to fall, Andrew Keene's carefully maintained facade begins to crack under the weight of his growing obsession. At school, he found himself unable to concentrate on lessons, his mind constantly wandering to thoughts of Paula and David together. He scolded students for minor infractions, his usual patience vanishing like morning dew. Colleagues noticed the change, whispering concerns about his erratic behavior in the staff room. As his jealousy deepens, Andrew's behavior becomes increasingly erratic. He installed a hidden GPS tracking device on Paula's car, justifying the invasion of privacy as necessary to alleviate his fears. Late at night, he would review her location data, constructing complex scenarios to explain any deviations from her usual route. Andrew's previously diverse interests narrowed to a single focus, following Paula and, by extension, David. He created fake social media accounts to stalk David online, scrutinizing every post and interaction for any sign of continued contact with Paula. Hours spent driving past David's apartment and office, hoping to see anything to confirm his suspicions. The turning point came one October evening when he convinced himself that Paula would meet David after work, and Andrew followed her to a small art gallery downtown. As he watched from across the street, he saw Paula come out of the building alone, but his mind, corroded by jealousy and paranoia, refused to accept the truth. At that moment, Andrew Keene's carefully constructed facade begins to crumble, and the consequences of his actions soon come. Andrew looked closely at the gallery, but David was nowhere to be seen, and something inside Andrew broke. Realizing that his suspicions were unfounded, did nothing to quell the rage and humiliation that had built up over the months. Sitting in the car, watching Paula drive away, Andrew made a decision. If reality was not what he suspected, he would be forced to do so. He will create a situation that justifies his jealousy, his anger, and ultimately, the retribution he is craving. Choosing a location is his first important decision. Andrew knew the crime scene needed to be isolated enough to avoid witnesses, but not too far away to arouse suspicion. After careful consideration, he settled in an abandoned lumberyard on the outskirts of town. The dilapidated building, scheduled to be demolished next year, offers both privacy and multiple access points. Next is the issue of the weapon. Andrew wanted something that would be difficult to trace back to him, which ruled out guns or any weapons he needed to buy. After much consideration, he decided on one, bought long ropes from various hardware stores throughout the county, and paid for them all in cash. Gloves, bleach, and other cleaning supplies are added to regular shopping trips in small quantities to avoid arousing suspicion. He created a fake email account under the guise of a local arts organization and composed a message to David, inviting him to participate in a secret art installation project at the factory. The email emphasized the need for caution, explaining that the project was intended to surprise the community. Andrew knew that David's ego and artistic ambitions would make such an offer difficult to resist. While waiting for David to take the bait, Andrew adjusted the details of his plan. He meticulously cleaned his car, removing any traces of hair or fibers that could be linked to him later. He bought a burner phone for cash from a convenience store 2 towns away, using it to contact David under the guise of being the arts organization's coordinator. The night before the scheduled meeting, Andrew visited the lumber yard one last time. He cleared his way through the rubble, ensuring that he would have a clear line of sight from the hideout to the entrance. The next morning, Andrew went through his usual routine, kissing Paula goodbye with a calmness that belied the chaos boiling inside him. Andrew went to class to teach, but he did not concentrate. His mind was focused on the events that were about to happen. When the final bell rang, Andrew rushed to the car, his heart pounding. He drove to the lumberyard, took a detour to avoid being seen, and parked a quarter of a mile away. He put on a pair of ordinary boots that he had bought for the occasion and walked to the factory. Inside the ruined structure, Andrew had the garrote rope coiled in his gloved hands. The minutes passed with painful slowness. Each sound from outside sent a jolt of electricity through his body. The sound of tires crunching on gravel signaled David's arrival. Andrew held his breath as the footsteps approached, echoing in the cavernous space. David's voice hesitantly called, "Hello? Is anyone here?" Andrew remained completely motionless, watching David move deeper into the factory. When David's back was turned, Andrew stepped out of hiding, rope at the ready. In just 3 quick strides, he was behind David. Before David could fully register the presence behind him, Andrew looped the rope around his neck and pulled tight. David's hands shot up, desperately clawing at the rope that cut into his neck. He struggled violently, his elbow hitting Andrew's ribs with surprising force. The struggle seemed to last forever. Andrew's arms burned with the effort of maintaining his grip as David fought for his life. Gradually, David's movements became weaker, his gasps became more sporadic. With one last convulsive shudder, David went limp in Andrew's arms. Andrew held out for a few more minutes, ensuring that there was no life left in his opponent's body. When he finally let go, David fell to the floor like a puppet whose strings had been cut. Panting, Andrew stared at the lifeless figure before him. The reality of what he had done hit him like waves. He had imagined this moment countless times, but nothing had prepared him for the obvious ending of taking a human life. Moving as if in a trance, Andrew began the process of cleaning up the scene. He collected the fibers scattered on David's clothes, putting them in a bag to dispose of later. Using previously stored detergent, he meticulously cleaned up any potential evidence, ensuring no trace of his involvement in the crime would remain. Andrew meticulously cleaned every surface he or David might have touched. As the light outside began to fade, he dragged David's body to a pre-dug hole in the far corner of the factory, covering the shallow grave with debris, knowing that the impending demolition would further conceal his crimes. Before leaving, Andrew looked around the factory one last time with a feeling of both awe and satisfaction. He did it. He committed a perfect murder. Driving home, Andrew found Paula already there, preparing dinner. He forced himself to act normal, commenting on the meal and casually asking about her day. Over the next few days, Andrew was acutely aware of every news report and police car that passed by. He scoured local news sites for any mention of David's disappearance, but found nothing. The lack of immediate warning was both a relief and a new source of anxiety. Paula, oblivious to the chaos beneath her husband's calm exterior, commented that Andrew seemed much more relaxed lately. She attributed it to their efforts at reconciliation, never suspecting the dark truth behind his changed attitude. A week after the murder, the first signs of concern about David's whereabouts began to emerge. His customers reported missing deadlines and calls going unanswered, while friends posted on social media asking if anyone had heard from him. Andrew watched these developments with a mixture of fear and perverse fascination. When the police finally got involved, Andrew was ready. He prepared a detailed account of his movements on the day David disappeared, complete with fake receipts and a meticulously edited digital trail. He even mentioned to Paula, within earshot of a neighbor, that he hoped the kind-hearted graphic designer would be okay, creating a disturbing alibi. As the investigation gains momentum, Andrew finds himself caught up in the search effort. He volunteered to help distribute flyers and even organized a search party to canvass areas of Pinewood Park. His obvious dedication to finding David dispelled any suspicion that might have been leveled at him. But underneath his helpful exterior, Andrew often feels uncomfortable. Every unexpected knock on the door made his heart pound. He began having vivid nightmares about David's final moments, waking up drenched in sweat. The weight of his actions weighed heavily on him, a constant invisible burden that he knew he would carry for the rest of his life. As days turned to weeks with no sign of David Reeves, the Pinewood Police Department stepped up their investigation. Detective Laura Stewart, a recent transfer from Portland with a reputation for solving cold cases, is assigned to lead the investigation. Stewart's first step was to retrace David's last known movements. Interviews with his clients and friends paint a picture of a man excited about an upcoming art project, although the details are vague. Stewart's interest was piqued at the mention of a secret installation at an undisclosed location. The detective's scrutiny quickly turns to David's personal life. Not long after, rumors of his affair with Paula Keene surfaced. Stewart approached the subject delicately in her interview with Paula, who acknowledged her past indiscretions but insisted it ended months ago. Andrew, present during the interview, played the role of a supportive husband perfectly, expressing sympathy for David's disappearance despite history. As Stewart dug deeper, contradictions began to emerge. David's bank records showed no unusual activity, and his passport was still in the apartment. His car was found parked at his residence, ruling out the possibility that he had just left town. The more Stewart investigated, the more she became convinced that David was guilty of foul play. A breakthrough came when a hiker reported finding David's phone in Pinewood Park, far from his usual haunts. Forensic analysis showed that the phone had been wiped clean of data, an act that Stewart considered intentional and suspicious. With each new piece of evidence, the circle of suspects narrows. Stewart suspects Keene is the culprit due to Paula and David's affair. Andrew's alibi was solid, however. Something about his two perfect answers upset Stewart's instincts. As fall turned to winter, the case consumed Detective Stewart. She spent many long nights searching for evidence, convinced that the key to unraveling the mystery lay somewhere in the complex web of relationships surrounding David Reeves. Little did she know that the truth was coming closer and much colder than she could have imagined. The turning point in the investigation occurred on a cold December morning, 3 months after David Reeves disappeared. A team of surveyors evaluating the demolition of the old lumber mill made a gruesome discovery. Partially exhumed due to recent heavy rains, David's decomposing body was found in a shallow grave. Detective Stewart and her team arrived at the scene, meticulously scanning the area for evidence. Despite Andrew's careful cleaning, traces remained. Fabric fibers consistent with David's clothing were found attached to the floorboards, and DNA analysis of the soil showed bloodstains consistent with a violent struggle. The discovery of the body pushed the investigation into high gear. Stewart re-interviews everyone connected to David, this time with sharper focus. During her second conversation with Andrew, things began to unravel. Stewart noticed subtle contradictions in Andrew's story, small details that didn't quite fit with his previous statements. His attitude, which was originally calm and cooperative, now contained anxiety. When Stewart casually mentioned that they had surveillance footage from near the lumber mill, she saw a look of panic flash across Andrew's face before he quickly composed himself. That momentary lapse was all Stewart needed. She intensified her interrogation, digging deeper into Andrew's alibi for the day David disappeared. Under unrelenting pressure, Andrew's carefully constructed facade begins to crumble. In a dramatic turn, Andrew breaks down and confesses to the murder. He recounts the whole sordid story, the discovery of the affair, months of secret planning, and the final deadly confrontation at the lumber mill. When he spoke, it was as if a dam had burst, years of pent-up emotions pouring out into words. Paula, brought in for private questioning, was devastated by this revelation. She struggles to reconcile the loving, forgiving husband she thought she knew with the man capable of such calculated violence. Her world, already fragile under the stress of the affair and its aftermath, has completely collapsed. When news of Andrew's confession spread, the town of Pinewood was stunned. The Keens' image as a perfect couple, even in the face of adversity, was shattered. Friends and colleagues struggled to understand how they could have missed the signs of Andrew's deteriorating mental state. In the following weeks, more clues emerged. His internet search history revealed months of research into undetectable poisons and body disposal methods. The depth of his obsession and the meticulous nature of his plans give even the most seasoned detectives chills. Andrew Keen was charged with first-degree murder. While awaiting trial, psychologists debated whether his actions were the result of temporary insanity or a deeper pathology. Paula, grappling with her own guilt and the tragic loss of both her lover and her husband, withdrew from public life. The murder of David Reeves has long been remembered in Pinewood as a tragic reminder that even in the most seemingly idyllic settings, darkness can lurk just beneath the surface. It serves as a cautionary tale about the destructive power of jealousy and the unintended consequences of betrayal, forever changing the town's view of itself and its residents. Please ensure to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell to stay updated on all the intriguing cases in the True Crime Stories series. Be the first to discover dramatic and thrilling crime stories.